Now recognize Mr. Owens for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to yield my time to Mr. Duarte.
Thank you. Thank you, Congressman. How we doing? So another topic. The Army Corps of Engineers in my district, Merced County is included, just had a river levee break and flood out a grammar school, an elementary school in a town of many farm workers and lower income residents for the second time in 5 years. Mr. Hawkins, is the Army Corps of Engineers, in your opinion, competent in their primary responsibilities of flood control, levee maintenance, and are they prepared and staffed to take on the additional responsibilities of regulating every farm in America down to its last mud puddle, or in your case, riprap installation along a drainage?
Well, Congressman, thank you. Thank you for the question. I would say, within Missouri, we have had a long-standing, let's say, open conversation with the Army Corps of Engineers. From the local issue I raised about just the movement of gravel to secure and slow soil erosion, to how the Missouri River is managed. Unfortunately, with what we have seen in Missouri, and Chairman Graves knows this all too well, we have seen the Endangered Species Act essentially used as the trump card to help dictate to the Army Corps of Engineers its management decisions for systems like the Missouri River. So that's long been the frustration for our farmers and landowners, is that they feel like the ESA is used as the trump card and the species are put above people.
Thank you very much. We had the exact same situation. We had rivers and ditches that needed to be drained. The irrigation districts locally were very willing to put the resources into providing the backhoe, the excavator, and draining them. The Army Corps couldn't issue a permit because Fish and Wildlife wouldn't permit the permit. And it went back and forth for years. Meanwhile, these families are flooded. They're throwing their couches, their belongings, their clothing into dumpsters parked along the street. They're being hauled away to the city dump. FEMA is out there making very meager offerings of support to help these families reestablish and balance their books and get on with their lives. They'll be stripping their drywall, their carpets, and rebuilding significant amounts of their houses simply because Fish and Wildlife and the Army Corps of Engineers couldn't get it together to perform their core responsibilities and functions. So thank you. There's more similar than different. Ms. Bodine, I know you've been at these types of issues for quite a while. We're sitting here on the precipice of not only a Supreme Court WOTUS decision coming down that should give us clarity on what is, the significant nexus that has been, in my opinion, manipulated by the agencies, but also Chevron deference cases coming down this year. And I'd like you to walk us through what we can expect and how some clarity may come in this year's Supreme Court sessions.
Thank you, Congressman. So I actually reread the oral argument from the second case, I think yesterday. But the based on the well, first the issue presented to the court.
You can lean just a little bit more in the microphone.
The issue presented to the court was whether or not there was a significant nexus to a stream that was actually north of the Sackett's property, in fact, across the road from the Sackett's property.
It was an adjacency issue, but yes.
But it was adjacent not to the lake, but to a stream, which was actually a ditch that flowed to a stream. But in that case, the justices were troubled, and this includes Justice Sotomayor and Justice Kagan, by the significant nexus test. The Deputy Solicitor General presented an argument that the significant nexus test was really about hydrology, which is very disingenuous because as I spoke earlier and in my written testimony, it's much, much broader than that. It includes these biological connections. So I actually would suggest and perhaps anticipate that the justices will not uphold a significant nexus test. The question then is what else, and I think that was questions other people have raised, and that I don't know, but I thought that they were deeply troubled by the significant nexus test in that case.
So in this window of time, when we have a new rule put before us that may not be supported by the Supreme Court, the most efficient thing right now would be to exercise our responsibilities under the Congressional Review Act, set this aside, and wait for clarity to come down from the Supreme Court. I also would like to ask, and maybe in a future session I will, can we make a deal anymore? In 1972, we sat down with the agencies and the other side of the aisle, and we've created the Clean Water Act. And we have serious limitations on what those authorities were that have been greatly eroded by the agencies. Will we be able to solve the next problem?